Welcome to Garage Branders, the podcast that dives into the world of omnichannel commerce and highlights the innovators and trailblazers behind the brands driving today's connected retail landscape. Support for Garage Branders is provided by Tandem Tide, a performance marketing and omnichannel commerce firm, helping brands thrive in today's digital marketplace. For more information, visit them at tandemtide.com.
All right, here we are. Thanks for joining us today, Brian. Welcome to Garage Branders, where we talk to brand founders. I'm Brandy Alexander from Tandem Tide, and we're joined by...
I'm Julie Seacrest, and down there is Brian Wood from FiberCore.
Hello, everybody.
So, Brian, there is a really cool Hollywood component to the origin story of FiberCore. Tell us about that.
Sure. The product line, the Eco Bedding product line, was developed by John Ratzenberger, who you may or may not know as Cliff Clavin from Cheers, and he was also in all the Pixar movies. And it was started out as a packing material. They didn't like styrofoam peanuts. They do exactly what they're supposed to do, but they're terrible. I mean, they blow all over the yard. They stick to your dog. They're environmentally unsound.
Yeah.
And so here's a way to develop a paper-based product that's actually better than styrofoam peanuts in terms of its efficacy, but it's easy to recycle. At the end of the week, you just put it out with the rest of your stuff at the end of the driveway. And so they developed this crinkly paper product, which works great. And it grew to the point where it was interfering with his day job, which is being on television, being Cliff and all sorts of other stuff.
The pig from Toy Story.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so he sold it to a company outside of Cleveland, where we're from, which it was a packaging company. And right about that time, there was an article about him in Time magazine talking about all the things he's done. He was sitting in a big pile of this eco bedding, and one of our laboratory distributors, we do a lot of work with labs and research facilities and universities and stuff like that, was having trouble with one of their clients had a primate facility, and when they would put the food out, the alpha male would go down and just beat the hell out of everybody and take all the food for himself. And so he had this sort of eureka moment where they would cover the whole enclosure with the eco bedding. And when they threw the food in, it got buried in the crinkly paper, and they all had to start foraging for it like they do in the wild. And it brought peace and harmony to the primate facility. And it's been an animal enrichment product ever since. So I cannot take credit for the development of its, primary purpose, which is packing, or the now, more popular version, which is an animal enrichment product. But so we bought it almost 20 years ago, and have expanded it, grown the pet footprint, the packaging footprint, and the laboratory footprint. And so it's been an animal enrichment product. It's great bedding material. It's hypoallergenic. There's less dust, and there's all sorts of benefits to using our product. Not the least of which is all of our packaging is done with the help of a couple different groups of adults with developmental disabilities. So when you support FiberCore, you're helping out, over 100 people with a variety of different issues. So it's environmentally friendly. It's good for the people that work on it, our planet, because it's recycled, and and hopefully we make a few bucks doing it. So
that's right. So that is awesome, and I love the fact that it's made in the USA. You guys are Cleveland based. You're really a homegrown brand, but you distribute throughout the country in major pet stores, major retailers. Talk a little bit about that. Like, where can people find you now? From an idea to where you are now.
Yeah, lots of independent pet stores carry us. So if you have a favorite local corner store, go ahead and ask them to. If they don't have it, they can probably track it down. You can find it in Pet Supplies Plus, Pet Supermarket down in the Southeast, Petco. And Joe's Pet Shop, and pretty much everything in between. So we do most of our work here in the States. We do a little bit in Europe, and we've got some clients in Australia and Korea and stuff like that as well.
Brian, one of the things I love about FiberCore or Eco Bedding as a product is that you get to work with different organizations, nonprofits that support animals, but then also just how enthusiastic pet owners are for their pets. I mean, I went with you to a trade show and we met some of these people, and it's just, there's so much passion behind it. and it's a great product for those animals and them. What have been some of the most heartfelt stories you've heard from people who have used your product?
Oh wow, there's so many. I mean, there's instances where we had a guy call us and he said, my daughter has I think it was a guinea pig, and she was allergic to the bedding that they were using for their guinea pig. And oftentimes people think they're allergic to the critter, but in fact they're allergic to the bedding because it's pine or some sort of wood-based thing. And they tried all these different kinds of products, and either the dust or the material in the bedding, she reacted to it. And they stumbled across our eco bedding somewhere. And because it's dust free and processed into a paper, it's craft paper. It's similar to grocery bag paper, the consistency. Mm-hmm. And he goes, she doesn't react to that, and we can keep the guinea pig. And I just wanted you to know that, we can keep our pet. Our daughter is thrilled, and she was, very happy with. So simple things like that, we had another guy call us once. He said, and he had a bunch of rats as pets, very social, personable critters, and he was very fond of them, obviously. And they all had pneumonia from the dust in the bedding he was using. And he went into the vet, and they tried all these potions and antibiotics and stuff like that. And it's like, this is not getting any better. And they, again, sort of stumbled across our product. And because there's no dust, the pneumonia resolved itself. And he called up, he goes, you guys saved my pets. Nothing else is working. And that little things like that, just make your day, and then sort of validate everything that you've been trying to do for so long. So
yeah, I mean, you literally, I mean, with the respiratory issues on both the pet and the human side, you're really, creating that little girl got to keep her pet, and that man got to keep his rats. And I mean, rat PR, rats are very social and very sweet animals.
Yeah.
Not like the pizza rat and that you encounter in New York, but
right, exactly.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
But a lot of that carries through, even like people using it, and their homes are cleaner and there's less dust in the home. Or if you've got a larger installation, let's say you're a pet store and you've got critters in the store, it keeps the store cleaner. It's more economical than most of the other the premium products out there, and the employees, the people that work around the animals all the time, are less susceptible to the adverse effects of some of the, pine or the dust and stuff. Yeah. So
I love these stories because you have so many just positive ones out there that are tied to this product or your product. So, go ahead, Brandy.
Well, I was going to say, and I love that. And it's almost like I think of eco bedding, saving the world like one gerbil at a time kind of thing. Right?
Yeah, right? Exactly. But
I really want to ask you, Brian, about your journey as an entrepreneur. I mean, you have such a fascinating background. I think you started out like sailing around the world. You're a bit of a deadhead. Like, tell us about your journey and what led you to acquiring this company.
Yeah, well, I was living in Colorado years ago. Got out of graduate school trying to figure out what to do, and ended up partnering up with a friend. We were selling T-shirts, rock and roll memorabilia, candles for head shops and stuff like that. And we were a Grateful Dead licensee for a long time, and we did all of Hunter Thompson and Ralph Steadman's work on coffee cups and T-shirts, all the Fear and Loathing artwork, and so definitely catering to the hippie, counterculture world that we were very familiar with. And then that sort of petered out with just the changing and the evolution of the market and people passing on but it taught me that okay, I definitely want to be I want to run my own show, and so we moved back to Cleveland 25 years ago and was looking around for something and stumbled across this sort of semi-abandoned product line that we made a play for, and we were able to put a group together and bought it back then.
That is cool. So, I mean, and I think a lot of people are in your sort of position where, you want to be an entrepreneur and you're really looking to acquire like a business that might be, need some love. And how did you find this? Like, what was your process for that?
I was looking at a different company that some friends of ours they weren't really keen on the way it was operating. They thought maybe they'd get me to run it for them. And it didn't work out, but it was in the same space kind of. And so in the process, I kind of stumbled across this product line, and they wanted to get rid of it, and we wanted it. We saw the potential. I saw the potential, and so the hard part was a sort of identifying the product line. So we certainly didn't develop it. It was already an ongoing, while very small enterprise, but we saw the potential there. And then putting the money together, which was the other part. So raising it through family and friends and stuff.
Head shops to the pet industry, and the pet industry as a whole is a very specific type of industry, right?
Yes.
So tell us about that journey.
It's not that different. It's you've got a lot of people that are really into what they're doing, right?
Yes.
They're one's a little more mainstream than the other, but at the same time, they're passionate about their niche, and so and we've got we're small animals, so the pet world is famous for being huge and growing and all that kind of stuff, but I mean it's really run by dog food and cat litter people. So small animal,
the consumables.
That's true. Small animal has always been 5 or 6% of the industry. So I don't care how big the pet industry is. It's like ours is just a fraction of that. And then we take care of the we don't even sell food, so we're half of that. Our market. I tell people a good day is when a gerbil poops in my product. So it's it's half of whatever it is, $70-80 billion. 2.5% of that is our market, and there's some other players out there that have been around a long time, do very well, and they're much bigger companies. But but one of the things that appealed to me was that it was a recycled product primarily, and working with the special needs adults was attractive, and there's a feel good component to that. But it's also an economical necessity for how we do it. So it's worked out, and people love that story too. So
yeah, for sure. So Julie, you work with Brian pretty closely in terms of marketing this product, but I want to maybe take a step back from that specifically and just talk about like marketing innovation in general. And what that looks like for you as a brand innovator, Brian, talking about innovation, talking about marketing, talking about getting your product out there, with a pretty slim budget. What does that look like for you? How do you think about that?
Well, our biggest obstacle is always getting people to try it for the first time. And again, with the small animal being such a small portion of the industry as a whole, people are concentrated. It's like, how many bags of XYZ dog food am I going to sell this week? Because some of those dog foods are $65 a bag. A bag of Eco Bedding is, depending on the size, $12, $20, something like that.
Yeah.
So the trying to get people to try it and realize that, hey, you know what? There's more out there than pine shavings, and you can improve the health and welfare of your pet simply by changing the bedding material. So and improve their, in giving them something that they can forage in and build nests in that they can't necessarily do with the other products. And when you do that, you improve, the physiology, all the way down to the physiology of the pet, and without any real additional effort on your part. So there's an educational component that we're struggling with, both on the store level and the consumer level. But so that's probably our biggest obstacle, because the economics stand up all day long, but just getting people are creatures of habit, buy the same toothpaste, once a month or whatever, every 2 months or whatever you buy toothpaste, and they go into the store. It's like, okay, the cage stinks. I'm going to go get some more bedding. I get the same one I got last time because that's what I got last time. And so getting people to switch is tough. And not just for small animal bedding manufacturers.
Right. So Julie, I mean, you do a lot of work with this brand. What are you seeing in terms of how to innovate, on all of the sort of omni-channel opportunities that we have, from retail to social media, to the website. This is truly an omni-channel brand. So how are you looking at that from your perspective?
What Brian said about education is just that awareness component. And it's for a smaller brand that I feel like Eco Bedding or / FiberCore is, compared to one of these mega brands that has, it's just like you have the corporation and then you have everyone else underneath it, and they have, the bedding product is one little portion of everything else. I mean, they're working with budgets that are much larger than where we're at, and able to get their messaging out and even negotiate store positioning and those elements. So those are trials and struggles that we're working through as we make these connections and get out there. One of the things I think is going to be a great opportunity to leverage is the Reddit advertising, because small animals are very niche, and it's a very it's an enthusiast category, and we talk a lot of that in our meetings when we talk about strategy. And finding the right audience and a better quality audience without, the bigger brands, let me backtrack here. The bigger brands can spend big budgets to promote to the masses. So they're just, they're basically, for lack of a better term, carpet bombing their messaging across there. The targeting isn't as refined. Where we have to go in is find our audience where they are and our customers where they are. So, using tools like Reddit or targeting through Meta and other, really refined tools like that will help us to deliver that messaging and utilize and maximize the budget that we have and getting a better quality audience. So, I mean, that's just with ad spend alone, but then there's the grassroots portion of developing the awareness, and that's getting into the groups and talking one-on-one with these individuals and really meeting them where they are. So that way the awareness and, the comes from us, and we can educate on that level as well. So, I mean, there is a challenge there when you look at, the competition, but I think that the strategic ways that we're looking at moving forward are going to be impactful.
Yeah, for sure. And just to sort of put a finer point on that, I mean, I think what we're really saying is, developing an organic following is a way for us to do, sort of with a limited budget to build an audience that isn't just transactional, but, we can educate them. They can learn how to actually, be more outcome driven with their pets. And that's really kind of the lane that we're pursuing for sure.
Right.
So Brian, when you think about like the future for FiberCore and, everything going on, with retail and some of these, challenges / opportunities, what do you see as the future of the brand? I mean, you've got this awesome product, it really does help people, manage their pets in a better way. But you also have other opportunities with the product too, because it is, at the end of the day, shredded paper. So maybe talk a little bit about kind of the future.
How much more than that? Yeah. Well, no, there's tons of opportunities. Like on the pet side, I mean, we've been doing this for a while, but we still have only scratched the surface in terms of market penetration.
Right.
And it's marketing, word of mouth is probably our best sales success story. And so, like, if you've got a hamster and you've got a hamster, just people sharing data and knowledge and stuff like that, whether it's on, Facebook or in person or what have you, that's a total opportunity for us. We've got opportunities in the packing material. It's a great substitute for styrofoam peanuts. That's how the whole thing got started however many years ago, and it still holds true today. I still use it to send, Christmas presents, but it works. It's a really great product. We've got a couple of, really strong packing material customers who ship a variety of different things, pretty regularly, because it's easy to use and it's effective. There's applications in the nursery field for bare root nursery growers who send their seedlings out in the spring, and there's opportunities in, like I said, in the laboratory business. We do a lot of research facilities. It's all about enrichment there, and when you have good enrichment for your laboratory mice, you end up with better science. And so we're only limited by our time and creativity, and there's so many different things we can do as we continue to grow. We just went through a big growth spurt right during the pandemic and shortly after that, and made it through that sort of those trials. Came out ahead, great customer base, people were understanding, and I think as we move forward, into the next couple of years, we're really going to see some growth on our end. So
very cool, very cool. I love it. So what would be your advice to either an entrepreneur or somebody kind of out there thinking about, okay, I just want to go buy a business and bring all my expertise to something like this and maybe even a new category like you did? Like, what would be your advice to somebody looking to do what you've been able to do?
It's so a couple things. One, I had it's a lot harder than anybody can imagine. I mean, if it was easy, everybody do it, right? So yeah. It's a lot harder. It takes a lot more time. This has come up a couple times in the last few weeks, but I've been called tenacious, and like, I don't give up, and you can't give up, because any normal person would have thrown in the towel years ago. But if you believe in it, mm-hmm. and you've got the support that you need, whether it's strategic, financial, just emotional, because it's a roller coaster, and and when it's going great, I mean, it's so much fun. And then some weird thing will happen that you never anticipated, and you've got to figure out a way through that. But yeah, so it's the advice I would give anybody is like, yeah, make sure that you've got the temperament,
the cojones.
Well, yeah, exactly. But you've got to be able to stick to it. And what, I don't know I forget what the number is, but it's like 8 out of 10 businesses fail in the first 3 years or something like that. And we've been here for almost 20, so we're doing something right. So
yeah, you beat the odds.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
But you got to beat them every year, And I don't care if you're FiberCore or General Motors. I mean, they go up and down at the whims of the customers and the economy, just like everybody else. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we're lucky because everything we buy and everything we make is sourced here in America, right? And obviously all of our employees are here too. So we don't have to worry about stuff that's going on overseas or that might get affected by, potential changes in how, imports and stuff like that and tariffs. Right. And so, but everything's made here, and people like that story too. Like all of our boxes are made here, all of our bags are made here, all the paper comes from domestically sourced, paper mills. So it's that gives us a certain amount of stability that some of the other industries may or may not enjoy. So
yeah, that definitely is a benefit across the board.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Julie, any sort of closing thoughts?
What is the best compliment someone could give you about eco bedding?
Best compliment somebody could give me about eco bedding. That their pets appear to enjoy it. And I mean, it's fun because a lot of the beddings out there, like when we were little, people used cedar shavings and stuff like that, which smell good, help keep the stink down. But in fact, they're not good for the animals, right? So,
right.
But our stuff doesn't have any of the adversarial aspects of, say, cedar or some of the pine beddings. But to watch the animals build stuff, which is, is so much fun. The kids get into that, like watch your pet do something, and that's kind of fun,
Yeah.
and you also look at some of the research been done. We work with a group called Pets in the Classroom, and there's a lot of data that shows having a pet in the classroom helps promote empathy and compassion and understanding, and it's simple things like that. It's just
it's the little things that just
yeah,
all of those together.
So this is one thing that I learned just from working with you, Brian, is about the cedar shavings and how sort of toxic they are, even beyond just like for your small animals, but like cedar closets and all of that. I mean, that was something I never even knew. I thought a cedar closet was like the way to go, but like talk about that. I mean, I think that's super interesting.
It's and we used to, the dog beds used to have it in there too, right? So,
right.
But the smell and it escapes me right now what there's a word for it, but it's actually bad for the animal's liver and lungs.
Wow.
And which also helps keep the number of mites and stuff like that down, but for a reason,
Yeah, there's a reason the bugs don't like it.
And just think about it, because if you've got that cave, you can smell it in your room. Just think how condensed it is in
your mattress,
your hamster cage, right?
Your bedding material.
Oh yeah.
So,
and it's not good for humans either, right?
No, not at all. Yeah. So I think, as an industry, they've certainly moved away from that. I'm sure there's still some places you can get it, but it's not as prevalent as it used to be now.
Yeah, right. So my final closing question, Brian, is I love your sailing experience. You didn't really touch on that, but talk to us a little bit about that. What's your craziest sailing story?
So a friend of mine and I and some other people on and off, when we were in our early 20s, sailed his boat around the world. And we spent 3 years exploring all sorts of different places and, going places, ending up in little islands and whatnot that you don't normally, vacation on, right? It's not, but it was an adventure more than it was. I wouldn't call it a vacation, but it was certainly an adventure. And totally self-contained, and learned a lot about people and how to take care of things and fix things on the fly, because there's no 911, there's no, AAA, there's none of that kind of stuff out there. So I think a lot of what I learned on that trip is helped me get through life, since then, in terms of.
Well, I was going to say, it sounds like sailing around the world for 3 years prepared you to be an entrepreneur.
It did. Oh yeah, totally.
Tenacious.
Yeah. Well, because you're not going very fast because you're on a sailboat, and but you've got to be able to deal with all the weird things that get thrown at you, whether it's a storm or something breaking in the middle of the ocean, or so you've got to be able to take care of yourself and be adaptable.
What's your craziest story to come out of that, though?
Craziest story.
Craziest. The first thing that pops in your head is always the craziest.
I might not tell you that one. Yeah, the filters have come up right now. Yeah.
Tequila for this one.
Not safe for work.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean,
mom to hear it.
Yeah. No, just being out in the middle of the ocean and like the first trip, when I wasn't really sure what I was doing, and having these enormous waves crashing over the boat and trying to change the sails, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing out here? And then a couple days later, the weather cleared and the moon came out, and the winds calmed down, and I was like, okay, now I get it. This is pretty nice, after being in this giant washing machine of green water in the Atlantic, and then it's just
God.
So that was early on, and I was like, okay, this is why you do this, and it's a fantastic way to see, because you get to go home every night and you get to sleep in your own bunk and do that, and you meet some pretty interesting and adventurous people along the way. This is before GPS, so.
Oh my God. Yeah. Wow.
And but yeah, no, it changed my life for sure. Yeah.
I think it's really cool that that you're still in touch with people you met along the way. on that journey. And like, I mean, predates nowadays, people in the early 20s are so dependent on social media, and you did it without it. You're still in contact these years later with some of these folks. I think that's
and they're scattered. Most of the people I still talk to are here in America now, but they weren't originally. They ended up here, independently of the sailing thing. And then my buddy who I still sail with today, I mean, we still go on adventures together and do stuff. Yeah.
That's awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Brian. I love your story. We're big fans of Eco Bedding, and I appreciate you carving out some time to chat with us.
Well, thanks. I enjoy it, and I certainly enjoy working with you guys, and you have definitely helped spread the word and, the message of what we're trying to do in terms of like, the people, the planet, and hopefully the profits. And it's,
people, planet, and profits. I love that.
Yeah.
and pets.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Cool. All right. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Have a great day.
Support for Garage Branders is provided by Tandem Tide, a performance marketing and omnichannel commerce firm, helping brands thrive in today's digital marketplace. For more information, visit them at tandemtide.com.